Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the QuiverCast. We are excited. I'm excited to have Phil Myers here. How are you, Phil?
I'm good, thanks, Mike.
Oh, so exciting. So, I'm a fan of your boards from far away because I live in America.
Yeah.
With your channels and all that. How did you get into shaping?
Well, I was a discontented carpenter, to say the least. I really didn't like the hours, 7 to 4 or whatever it was. And I grew up 20 minutes inland from the coast, and all I wanted to do was get to the coast. All I did in school was sit in class and draw surfboards and get the cane. And, it was kind of a traumatic experience for me going to school. I had no interest in it. Anyway, I came back down to Ballina here, where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done a carpentry apprenticeship, and I come back down here, and I was sort of wondering what to do, playing around with a few boards of my own, like sort of thing. Then I got a job as a buffer in the local board factory,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just started to learn to shape my own. Yeah, from there, Bob McTavish took me under his wing, and he showed me how to use a planer properly. Gone to Rome was shaping at free flight surfboards, but he went overseas, and the opportunity came up for me to start shaping full time, and I grabbed it. That was around 1977. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So before you got into shaping, you obviously surfed. How was that?
Yeah, mad surfer. Like my brother and I, our brothers, all surf from the age of about 12. For me, anyway, onwards. Brad was about 10. Our oldest brother was about 14.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and once we started surfing, I mean, for me, that was it. Football, all that other sort of stuff. I mean, I still, at school, still played it and did swimming and that, but all I really wanted to do was go surfing sort of thing. So my younger brother became a Queensland champion. I was in the Open Queensland team.
Wow.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
How many guys were in the lineup? Was it as busy as it is today?
No, mate. No. No. When we first started, like Dad and Mum used to drive us around to go surfing, and it was just like a group of surfers in this area, and wherever they were surfing, we'd surf until we got to know, more about conditions and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I've surfed Lennox Point as good as you want to get it with, or by myself.
Wow.
And with very small crowds, many, many times, like back in those days, plus all the other breaks we had around here. I mean, you can find waves by yourself, no drama whatsoever, and I mean, really good waves. But, I mean, obviously that's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. Were you looking for other guys and gals to go surfing with you? Like, were you looking for some company?
Yes. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, if there was 2 or 3 of us, that was fine sort of thing. But in those days, it was very isolated around here. It wasn't that great a feeling sitting out some places by yourself sort of thing. So we live in Shark City here, I can tell you that as well. There was just a hardcore group of guys, and we all just hung around together, and everyone went surfing and shared, and, it was just a different world.
Who are some of the guys you were surfing with besides your brothers?
Just all the local guys, from here. I mean, best ones was probably Shorty Connors, Bobby Tyrrell, Steve Mitchell. By the time the 70s come along, like Greeno was here, Brocky was here. Every international surf day was here at one stage.
Wow.
The Sydney guys used to come up here, and Lennox was kind of the testing place for their boards and designs, and George filmed the Innermost Limits here, and Lennox was sort of the place in those days.
When these visiting surfers came to your area, were you guys welcoming?
Yeah, we were. I mean, if people come here that were disrespectful and rude, I mean, they got what they asked for.
Of course.
In those early days, if someone new was in the line paddling, where are you from, mate, And it was an interesting, I'm from down here, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I made many friends over the years just that way. people weren't a threat back then. It wasn't that crowded that you had to worry about, weren't going to get waves. You're going to get waves. I mean, it was, and as long as people didn't disrespect that, everything was fine.
That's rad. I think it's changed now, huh?
Big time.
Do you ever think it'll go backwards? Where we'll be everyone's
No,
brothers?
there's too many people involved. I see all the new movement of younger guys riding bigger boards and everything, and that's just about catching more waves.
It is 100%.
It's not like, we grew up, we wanted to ditch all that sort of stuff to get on the most modern equipment. Now you've got young guys who come straight onto the logs.
Yeah, it's gone backwards.
I said to one guy one day, I said, mate, how old are you? And he went, oh, I'm 19. I said, what are you riding that fucking thing for? I said, you're in the prime of your life. You'll only get one chance at this, mate.
Yes.
But you get one chance to ride the most up-to-date equipment. As you get older, you'll have plenty of time to ride one of those. But, it has all changed. Now, people are looking at it differently, I think. It's very fashionable to ride different sorts of boards. To tell you the truth, I've always liked myself riding different sorts of boards in different lengths. I mean, I personally have always liked that. But I did enjoy the time where I was just riding more, the high-performance boards all the time, but that doesn't last forever. I'm very open-minded. When I see guys just riding that, I think, well, isn't it getting a bit boring?
100%. I agree with you. Maybe they're just being selfish and trying to get as many waves as possible.
Well, the local place here up at Byron the Pass, it's crazy there.
Okay.
It's crazy. Everyone's riding long boards or bigger boards, and it's a good wave, but it's just so crowded. I suppose it's like Malibu or somewhere over there.
Yes.
It is horrific, really. I mean, there's people getting run over, smashed, and people have way too much confidence these days for their ability.
Yes.
And that's where the trouble starts.
Oh, yeah.
And all this sort of new hipster movement says, they're all sharing and caring. Well, I don't actually see that.
That's true.
There's some bloody, there's some greedy people amongst that crowd, I can tell you that. Anyway.
That's funny. Going back to your early days, did you ever imagine that it would be where it is today as a young Phil?
No.
You couldn't.
No, I didn't think the world would change that much, mate. I mean, when I look back at the days now, and it's just with envy of what we had to what it's like now.
Mm-hmm.
It's Christmas time here now, and honestly, I just drive straight past the beach and just waiting for everyone to go home. It's a nightmare to get a car park. It's a nightmare in the water. How do you keep something as good as surfing a secret from other people? Well, in those days, I don't know how many people there was in Australia, but I'd say it's tripled or,
Okay.
more than that since then. I have actually surfed the Pass just with my brothers and that in those days and a few others. And you knew everybody that surfed. I knew virtually everybody from the Gold Coast to bloody Yamba, which is a fair stretch of coast, by around 1970 that surfed virtually. Yeah, it's just a different world.
It is. Who are some of the guys you were looking up to? Did you have anybody in your area that you idolized or looked at?
Well, McTavish is here. McTavish taught me to shape.
Of course, McTavish,
George has been here for years. Nat lived up here for quite a while, and he shaped boards for us when we were younger.
Wow, okay.
They were really good to us. We've had everybody, like Keith Paul lived here at one stage. My brother and I were sponsored by Sam One and then by a local company called Soul Surfboards sort of thing. So a lot of people come through that Sam One factory back in the early days sort of thing. So, I mean, I looked up to all the older guys.
Yeah.
I really did. Like, held them in high esteem. I mean, you don't kind of see that much either these days. You got fucking, 12-year-old kids trying to outdo all the older guys. I mean, it's just, the lack of respect is, it's not like what it used to be.
It's crazy that, things have changed that much, even, over the generations. You being in the surf industry, being a board builder, do you feel like it's benefited you directly?
It's annoyed me a lot. it's hard. Look, I've had some really good surfers in the time, but it's hard to keep them because of the money involved. You know, there's always someone coming over the top of you and stealing everyone.
Mm.
You got to put up with the parent of kids who think that their son's going to be the next world champion. And I've kind of steered right away from all that these days. I mean, and everybody that you speak to these days at ordering, well, it's not everybody, but there's a lot of older guys that are old enough to know better. You know, that I had one guy say to me one day, at this stage of my career, and I went, I said, you're a plumber, mate. You're not a fucking professional surfer, you're a plumber. I said, you know, it's all too serious. I mean, it really is serious. I've had one guy that could barely stand up on a Mal come in one day and he had 3 full pages of questions. And he started at the top and he's asking all these questions. And I said, you don't even know what you're asking about, mate. Rockers and this and that. He said, oh, yeah, but this lady who's coaching me told me I have to ask all these questions. And I said, give me that piece of paper. So he gave it to me. And I just ripped it up and threw it in the bin. And I said, mate, if you don't trust me after like 45 years of shaping boards to shape you a surfboard, I said, go away because you're just wasting my day. I mean, I go, where? And a lot of people ask questions. I say, where did you get that from? They'll go, oh, I read it online.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, like there's so much garbage online and everything as well. I mean, if people don't trust you after all the years you've had behind you, you know, it's kind of, I'm not interested. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, yeah. And most people should just go surfing for fun because there's very few professional spots there available for the elite. Yeah. And I mean, that sort of changed things as well. You know, everyone's got to ride what so-and-so is riding, whether it suits them or not.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's different times. Once upon a time, you just rode what you seen the local shaper riding or his team rider shaping or whatever. You know, custom work is still the best, but everyone wants everything now. And I mean, all this model thing, you know, you got to come up with some fancy bloody name for they're all just surfboards, really.
Yes.
You know, step ups and all this sort of stuff. So it's all a bit much, really. Anyway.
Going back to a young Phil and you being sponsored, you and your brother, was there even a path to be a pro surfer or anything of that sort?
Not really. Nah. We were friends with Peter Townend and MP and all those guys on the Gold Coast and stuff. I mean, Peter was figured it out, but I mean, all I wanted to do at that time was just do something that would allow me to go surfing more.
Yes.
And live at the beach sort of thing. So the shaping was the path for me.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't. It was like when we were competing in the Queensland Trials, it was just everyone was in there who, you know, there was no such thing as pro surfing. So
was it just to talk shit to your buddy to win a heat? Like what did it mean to be in that contest?
Well, it was kind of like as far as you could go in those days.
Yes.
When you go on the state title, then you go off to the Australian title. That was it. But, you know, I soon realised you got to work. You got to do some damn thing because, you know,
you need money.
No one's going to pay your bills for you. Yeah, you need money. And you didn't need much money back in those days. I mean, you could rent a flat or a house down here for about bloody $30, $40 a week.
Wow.
Well, petrol and that. I remember when I got my first car, 4 of us used to take off in my car and everyone had put in 15 cents each or 25 cents each for the weekend's petrol. It was just...
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you got your first car. Where some of the ventures we were going on? Where were you heading to?
We just have an area here where if there was no surf here, we'd drive, you know, probably 100 Ks right or left or wherever just to look for ways. But that was an old Volkswagen thing, which I ventured. Engine fell off the mounting, so we were driving it over through the bush over at bloody Snapper Rock near Evans Head. I'd nearly rolled it 2 or 3 times. It was just crazy, that sort of feel. Very bad driving. Anyway.
How did you know what the swell was doing, or was it all just a guess?
Then really it was just all a guess. But you knew, like here in wintertime, like from March right through to October,
mm-hmm.
it usually blew offshore most of the time.
Nice.
And you get it like southerly swells in those periods. Whether you believe in climate change or not, me as a surfer in this area has seen a huge change in our summers and winters. Like in summer, used to get a lot of northies. We get southeasts in the morning, and then we get always by lunchtime, we'd be off the Southwell, which was a northeasterly place. But come March, southwesters would start to blow and the southerly swell would come. That was our peak period. And you can almost set your clock by it.
Wow.
That kind of doesn't happen much anymore. We don't get prolonged southerly swells with the southwest winds like we used to. Actually, this whole area, if people are coming here thinking it's the utopia it was in the 60s and 70s or even 80s, it was not. They've pushed the break walls further and further out, and what it's done is ruined, like, the sand flow along the coast. And we had 2 breaks in town, which was Trestles and Speeds, which were, as far as I'm concerned, Speed was the best wave we had here. Even over Lennox. It was a shorter wave, but it was a peak that ran into a wall that was just extremely hollow and quick. It was a wave that you almost didn't need to do a cutback on. But it's gone. And Trestles, which was another right-hand point, which was a super hollow dredging thing, it doesn't work anymore either because the sand has kind of gone out where the edge of the walls are and gone right along the coast, and it's covered all the reefs. Doing what they did to those walls have been very detrimental to this area. And like Lennox now, when Lennox breaks, there's 150 people in the water. Yeah. Conservatively. And Byron Bay, well, don't even bother.
Okay. When you paddle out at these breaks, do you get any respect for you being the early guy?
No, because I don't even know who you are.
Okay. So you've lost the closeness of knowing everybody.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yes, exactly. Oh, well, a lot of my mates have passed away, and a lot of them don't surf anymore either. And I mean, Balna was a little fishing village. You could drive down the street and you'd be waving to everybody out the window. Yeah, you go, mate. Yeah. Now it's just changed so much, mate. So much. So, well, George said, it's kind of like California was.
Yeah.
And they're actually talking here now about, because they've been filming a lot of movies around here, they're talking about bringing a couple of studios into this Balna area. And I thought, well, that'll definitely be the end of it, once you get all that sort of stuff involved. Yeah. It's just population growth has killed the place, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, other people will say that it's wonderful and it's made the place. Well, I disagree.
Yes.
But anyway, progress.
Did you see it coming through the 80s, 90s, 2000s? Or was it already getting bad?
Not really. I mean, not really.
Okay. You knew you lived in a magical area of the world. You had to have. Or maybe you didn't.
Well, yeah. We're probably all too stoned in this.
I love that.
But no, it was. It's like in hindsight, it's just when you can see back on what you've actually lost. I mean, it was isolated. It was an outpost. Like it was, you could do whatever you liked in this area sort of thing and no one take any notice of it because there was no one there. I mean, it was, and the choice of waves that we had compared to what we've got now. And I mean, there are a lot of spots here now that are the packed weren't even considered surf spots back in those days. Yeah. We were spoiled. I mean, we were really spoiled. We were really spoiled.
Yeah. So. Unfortunately, you didn't know you were being spoiled until it was too late.
No, it's kind of happened really quickly too. Once it started, that was it. It's the way of the world, really. The surfers or the fishermen find the places and then everyone else is, jumps on board. When you look at some of the houses, I mean, to me, a house is just somewhere to live, raise your kids, whatever. Yeah. Look after your dogs and sleep and that. We got things like the size of a bloody shopping centre sitting on the headlands down here now. Yeah. Then we got all the movie stars moved into the area. Yeah, it's just, it's not like it used to be.
So you're kind of saying, like, back in the day, you didn't have to keep up with the Joneses. You didn't have to.
No, mate. If you had an old Holden, a pair of jeans, a couple of pairs of board shorts and a wetsuit and a couple of boards, you were fine. I mean, that's all you really wanted to. people can get away with all this shit, but when they wave it in front of their nose, they've all got to have it, sort of thing. But it just causes so much problems, like financially and everything, keeping up with all this stuff. You know, where there was no mobile phones.
Yeah.
No one went down the road and got coffee before they went surfing. Yeah, they were all sitting in sipping lattes every morning before they could do anything.
Okay. Let's say when you were a kid too, or a young adult, Phil. Was it like smoke a joint and go surf? Not a coffee?
Yeah.
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 With your buddies.
Yeah. We didn't do anything without it.
And
I wouldn't recommend it to young people these days because, I don't know, it was just an easier time then. And then, yeah, it's just the way it was. There's no use denying it. It was the way it was.
do you also attribute a lot of this chaos in the lineup to like weekend warriors or guys that surf once a month?
Yes and no. I mean, it's, as I said, everyone thinks that they're better than they are, really, I think, half the time.
Agreed.
You know, I should be getting all the waves sort of thing. And I mean, I get people ring me up and just go, oh, you know, I was surfing one of your boards today and I did this and I did that. And I go, oh, yeah, right. Do I need to know this? You know? And I feel like saying to a lot of these people, look, if you were as good as you thought you would be, you'd have people clamouring after you, you know, to ride their boards and sponsor you with clothes and things. But, yeah, it's just chaos. I mean, it's that whole friendly vibe has gone out of surfing and it's dog eat dog, really. I mean,
Yes.
everyone's out there to get what they can get. There's very few places you can go and it's really relaxed. I mean, there's always someone that's trying to make a name for himself or take more than his share, that's for sure.
Without giving any names of a destination or anything, are there areas in Australia, because it's a big country, that are lightly or not explored at all, and there's some magical ways we don't know about?
There is, but they're well out of the road. And I mean, I don't think there's any places that people don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
There is some places that aren't crowded still, but they're in the desert or, you know, they're not in our vicinity, that's for sure.
And then going backwards again too, I wanted to ask you about like, how was wetsuits? Did you have them when you were young, or how was the technology of them?
We didn't have wetsuits in the 60s.
Wow.
And I mean, surfing in winter, it was bloody cold. Tried wearing football jumpers and woolen shirts and stuff. If it fell off, you'd sink.
Yes.
So, I can't remember when it was first got wetsuits, probably in maybe late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
A few guys had those dive sets and that, but they were impossible surfing and, you know, rashed the living daylights out of here as well. Yeah, but I do remember when Claw used to come around, he used to own Rip Curl. He'd
Yes.
drive around himself and drive to the surf shops with wetsuits and that one-man show sort of thing.
And were you guys super excited? Were they?
I'll wear as least as possible of a wetsuit as possible. Like even if for winter, I'll just wear a short sleeve vest thing. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of steamers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it's a super freezing sort of thing. I mean, the leg rope was a great thing for us, surfing the points all the time with the rocks everywhere.
Yeah.
You could easily go to Lennox and ride a board off the first wave, board up on the rocks and be destroyed. I remember going out there one day and there was no one down. It was like 6 to 8 foot, probably some bigger sets. Jumped off the rocks with a 6'2", paddled out, got cleaned up and washed in. Tried to paddle out again, got washed in again. Did it 3 times and got washed in. So I jumped in the car and drove all the way back to our factory and grabbed this 7.6 that was there. Went back out, jumped off the rocks, paddled out, got out, sat up on the board, and this set from hell broke on me, busted the leg rope, and just destroyed the board. So that place was brutal. And the wet leg ropes were definitely a saving grace for not losing the board and destroying it.
With the technology of wetsuits and then leashes and some of the technology you lived through happening, obviously changed surfing with keeping boards next to people or they're not having to swim in. Do you think people started depending too much on it and not staying healthy enough to like swim in themselves?
Well, I had a kid once paddle up to me at the point. He was a good surfer. He's lost his board and he's grabbed me and he's hanging onto my board. And I'm going, what are you fucking doing? He's going, the leg rope break. And I said, well, swim. And he's looking at me going, "What?" You're like this, hanging on for dear life. And I said, if you can't swim in and get your, you shouldn't be out here.
Yes.
Yeah, but once they break, it's a whole different story. I mean, I broke a leg rope at Uluwatu when it was like 10 foot. I came in somewhere because I just got washed down along the headlands, halfway around to Padang, and had to crawl back around the rocks and then jump in the hole and climb back up the thing. I mean, yeah, they can let you down big time, give you a false sense of security, that's for sure.
Yeah. Were you embracing leashes, or were you kind of
Yes,
shying away from them?
No. No, like no one wanted to, well, anyone in their right mind wouldn't want to let their ball continually go up on the rocks and Lennox. I mean, it's just can ruin your day, that's for sure. I thought they were brilliant
Okay.
because they kept your ball with you like that. I mean, a lot of people don't like them now,
Yeah.
like longboarders, but, as I say at the pass and that they should be riding them, they should be using that safe place is so crowded.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been a lot of accidents out there from people that don't wear leashes that think they're going to lose their board and splitting people's heads open and all sorts of things. So it's not 1960.
It's not.
There's 500 other people in the water out there.
As you were growing up, the board and designs were changing.
Yes, that's what fascinated me. Like that late 60s period and everything, boards were going down. We had the B bottoms, went from the Mals to the B bottoms to the trackers. I remember one stage Nate Young and those guys were riding 5'6" and all this sort of stuff.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was really quickly, and that sort of left a lasting impression on me for sure. I mean, we recently just showed Innermost Limits. It's been all remastered again, and it's specifically 1968, 69. And at the time when it came out in about 1970. And I remember going to it and thinking, oh, that wasn't very good, just because the boards had changed so much and the surfing had changed with it. But now when you see it like remastered, I mean, it's mostly filmed around here. It's brilliant because it's showing you a time capsule of 68 to 69 when boards were changing. But by the time it came out, it was like a year behind sort of thing, and everything had changed again. If you ever get the chance to see it, go and see it again because it's such a historic sort of movie. And then you look at the surfing and you go, wow, well, it is good. It's really good. You were looking at in a different aspect back then because boards had gone shorter again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get a chance, go and see it again.
That would be awesome. Were you at that point shaping when all these designs were changing, or were you kind of
No,
not yet?
no, not yet.
Okay.
No, I didn't start till like mid-70s sort of thing. But
Yeah.
one day I do remember talking about Innermost Limits. We were still living in Lismore and it was a show day or something, and Dad drove us down here to go surfing with me and a couple of mates. I had a tracker, that's right. I hadn't surfed Lennox maybe once before. Standing on the rocks, my two mates are standing behind me. I jump in, paddle out, turn around, they're still standing on the rocks. Believe me. But up on the hill, John Witzig's car was there and David Trelaw was there and Ted Spencer was there. Anyway, a couple of ways, and I got freaked out by all the rocks and things and just came in because no company at all. Anyway, we drove in a place called North Wall, which is in Ballina. Mm-hmm. And Ted Spencer, and that was there. Ted Spencer was riding, I think it was a 5'8" or a 4'8". It was like Greeno's knee board.
Wow.
Same sort of outline. And he shaped the board out. And I was sitting on the beach watching him ride like these 6 foot perfect waves on this tiny little board. And I'm thinking, my God, look at this guy. Like seeing all that happening before our eyes, I mean, it left a lasting impression. Mm-hmm. Because that's where they came and made all those movies. And as I say, that's where a lot of Australia's top shapers had come from Sydney and come to Lennox and test their latest board sort of thing. So
yeah.
The first day I ever actually talked to George or met George, we were surfing. It was a Saturday morning. My brother and I were surfing and George turned up and he's riding the kneeboard. And I said to my brother, I'm going in to watch this, because he's riding that red spoon. We're sitting up on the rocks and Shorty Connors come down and he had this like Afghani hash. He put in the matchbox and we're smoking that. I got really bloody stoned. I mean, it was super powerful. Watching George. Anyway, George came in and walked up the rocks, put his board down there and said, "Oh, hey, how's it going, buddy?" Sees out in the water and that, and buddy just started talking to us and was talking about his board and that. Ronnie Connor's shorty, he's gone, "That's an unusual fin, George." Anyway, George started talking about this fin and just went on and on and on about this fin. And I about laying in the grass. I was that bloody out of it and know what I was doing with my hands over me. Couldn't take it anymore. He spoke about the fin for 3/4 of an hour, I reckon, about the foil. And at that stage, all I knew was the fin was made out of fiberglass. It was on the bottom and near the back, Like,
Yes.
I didn't realise there was that much involved. But, maybe I should have listened to him more then. But so into things like that, it's just incredible. And the amount of effort he puts into that sort of stuff is mind-blowing. Yeah. But at that stage, being young and just out of it, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
How was your surfing personally? You're transitioning too, along with everyone else, correct? Or were you kind of behind them?
Yeah. We were trying to keep up with everything, but in those days, it was a matter of money, but always managed to buy second-hand boards or whatever. But, yeah, had some very unusual boards during that period.
Okay.
I'd go to the surf shops and buy the weirdest one there, sort of thing,
Okay. Would you find out that they worked or didn't work, or were you blaming yourself or the equipment? Two questions, I guess.
Kind of made everything work. Yeah, you made it work, sort of thing, and sorted it out. I mean, some were dogs. I remember I had a thing that was had a spoon nose on it.
Okay.
Roll in the front, then it ran to a V, and the fin was about 18 inches up from the tail. That was a nightmare, that one. Yeah, I had some really weird-looking boards, but they went. They went. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You made them work. Did you keep any of these? Do you have any of these old boards today?
No. Look, that's why I kicked myself. If I'd have kept some of these boards and even some of my own, my son's got about 40 of old free flights that he's collected. But
rad. Cool.
I just didn't do it. It was just like, I'll throw this one away and get the next one.
Out with the old, in with the new kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so were you reselling these boards to your buddies or to a Grom?
Yeah, I just sell them or trade them in back in those days before I started shaping myself, yeah.
These shapers of this time, whoever you were dealing with, did you ever give feedback? Even though I know you were getting secondhand boards, did you ever see the shaper or the surfer and say, hey?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
1970 or let's say early 70s, before you started shaping, was there a dream board or design that you were looking at?
By that stage, we were getting boards off Sam One and, Nat made us boards first. They were the dream board at the time.
Okay.
He was baking boards up at his old place up on Bangalow Road on the farmhouse. And, those boards worked really, really well, really well. And, I rode a Michael Peterson one. My mate had the little stubby thing that he rode, he rode in the Morning of the Earth. I rode one of those, broken head one day, and that felt unreal to me. I've kind of always liked shorter, stubbier boards since then, sort of thing. So I don't want to be rude or anything, but I didn't like the Hawaiian style, like the full-on pintails. I was more interested in the Queensland boards of the early 70s. They were rounder. They had wider tails. They were more stubby sort of thing, and they suited our conditions. Whereas, like the Lopez pintails, they didn't sort of suit our conditions unless it was really big.
Makes sense.
After seeing Ted Spencer ride what he was riding, and then you see what Michael was riding, and those boards had more manoeuvrability than the others, as far as I can see.
Okay. And what was the maneuvers you were trying to do besides get barreled? What were people doing? Was it more style or maneuvers?
The roundhouse cutback was the...
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, the Holy Grail sort of thing, go right around, then back over the soup, and then back around sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do re-entries and all that sort of stuff at that time. Where you see guys run along the lip today, we used to come down and drive and get on the rail and try and go around the bottom of it rather than over the top of it on single fins. And style was important. You see so many Oh, horrible bloody styles these days, I think.
I agree. It's funny.
I think everyone should ride a single fin when they're younger and work out, work on their style and then move on to a thruster. But you're definitely drawing different lines.
Yes.
But then again, I see young guys ride these old boards like there's a contest coming up this next weekend, a Burley single fin contest. A lot of guys ride old free flights and that, and I see them doing airs and 360s and all sorts of shit on them and doing modern manoeuvres on them. So I guess it's just how you board up, from the period you board up. Yeah.
Well, you're saying on the old equipment guys are way more progressive than you guys were able to be.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Okay.
If you had thought about doing an air in those days, well, it was a pipe dream, really.
Right. Well, I mean, was it even thought of?
Nah.
No. Yeah.
Oh. Surfing was to surf on the waves, not in the air.
Okay. Was there a person in your area or in Australia at the time that you were aware of that was surfing different than everybody else?
Well, Michael Peterson was. He was just quicker than everybody. Outmaneuvered people, I think. The ones that I liked, I mean, Nat and Michael would be my two picks from that era, definitely. Some people just look good on the surfboard.
Style.
And some people don't.
Yeah.
But they've only got to stand there and you can see that they,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, those two had that for sure.
As you're transitioning into the mid 70s, and that's when you started shaping, right?
Yeah.
Like, were you trying to mimic all the other shapers in the region, or were you trying to new methods or new ways?
The first boards I shaped,
yeah,
because I wanted to surf and I wanted to surf anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so one of the first boards I shaped was a round-nosed swallowtail fish, big tail thing with twin fins. And I remember walking down the beach with it, at Shelley Beach, and everyone had single fins and pintails and things like that. I said, "Oh, how can you walk down the beach with that ugly-looking fucking thing?" And I said, "No, mate, I'm going surfing. You're sitting there looking at it."
Yeah, there you go.
And I just go and ride shore breaks, whatever, and make boards appropriate because I just wanted to spend all that time in the water. I mean, most guys only had one board back then, and I had about a dozen of them. Yeah, and I made a lot of funny-looking things, I can tell you, like really, really
experimenting.
Really weird-looking things. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
I was recycling what I'd seen of some of those other guys, and then trying to either make it better or whatever. The fish works well in small waves. That's why I wanted to surf anything.
What year is this? Guess.
That was about 76, I think.
At this point, fishes were alive and well, right?
Well, not here, they weren't.
Oh, they weren't. So where were you getting your inspiration? Where'd you get your ideas?
Well, I'd just seen it. I just wanted to ride small waves, and I'd seen all those old Californian guys and that riding the fishes and stuff like that, and I thought, oh, one of those.
Okay.
Because they can ride shitty waves with it. I mean, it made sense to me.
Were you seeing these people in the magazines, movies, what?
Yeah, movies or magazines, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there ever a California guy or American guy or overseas guy, not an Australian, that showed up in your area that you were impressed by?
I have lots of friends that moved here. Roy started Bare Nature. Bobby Newlands came here. Garth Murphy, I think, was here ages ago. There was a lot of California guys around, coming and going.
Okay.
As far as surfers, most of the stuff was what I'd seen just on movies and in magazines.
You're experimenting and you're finding out that it works. Like, what does that do for you?
Well, I've taken all those things and used them over the years. There's all those old outlines and stuff, created some of my own, put different bottoms on them. That step bottom thing that I use is kind of like a Californian outline, the things Richie West used to do, that little round nose, round tail thing. Yeah, I've just taken bits and pieces from everywhere and I use a lot of the edge boards and that these days as well. George has actually given me a heap of templates, so...
Wow.
And you can see in George's templates, you can see the Michael Peterson stubby and all the little offshoots from that template. I don't think there's anything I haven't tried.
I love that.
To me, it's not about following the fashion of the day. When you say the surfing selfish, well, I kind of started shaping so I could have all those different boards, and I was kind of just shaping for myself, really, and then for other people. But, and I wanted to try everything because, I mean, if you just stick to the one thing, I mean, it becomes I did like 10 years with Brothers Nielsen, and they had me just shaping high-performance surfboards. By the time I'd finished that, I was just burnt out on the whole thing. Then went back to what I really wanted to do, sort of thing.
You had a period in your shaping life that you were just there as a worker.
I hand shaped 38 boards one week. I was usually hand shaping like 20, 25, 30 boards most weeks for them. And I mean, it took a physical toll, and I was working 7 days a week. I had a very young family then. It was full on.
It sounds brutal, but you probably learned a lot in that experience.
Yeah, I did. I dealing with pro surfers and all that sort of stuff.
That's got to be fun.
Look, I had some funny things then. One guy said, "Oh, the board looks unreal, but the last 6 inches of the nose looks a bit wide." What?
Who said that? You want to give the name up or no?
No. Martin Leach was really funny as far as, I said to him one day, I said, "Oh, what about the fins? What sort of fins do you want and where, what's the position of your fins?" And he said, "Well, they're usually on the bottom and do the back."
Well, there you go. It's a perfect answer.
So, look, dealing with all that, I'm sort of glad I did it, but I'm glad I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of Barton, in my opinion, I met the guy. He's a great guy. Is he the same Barton today that he was when you were dealing with him in the 80s? Or
No,
he's not the same guy?
No, not really, I don't think.
We all change with age.
It was always easy to get along with that.
Okay.
I could never work out how he could get on TV and speak without swearing, because he swears like you wouldn't believe. How do you switch off and not say that? Like
That's funny. You've also shaped for Danny Wills and some of these other big Australian names too.
Yeah. Well, we did the Cole Smith channel there for years and years as well.
Yep.
I'll actually still do it, sort of thing. And through Cole, I shaped for Michael Ho and
Wow.
Hans Heidelman. Derek Ho rode one of those boards or somebody.
Okay.
We had Danny when he was really young. He was winning everything in Australia in his age divisions and all the rest. Then later on, as he got bigger, obviously along come the bigger companies and let's see you later sort of thing. So that's just the way it works, and you can't blame them. I mean, they've got to go where the money is.
Right. Well, let's go back real fast to Bob McTavish and teaching you how to shape. Is that correct? Yeah. How did that happen? Did you go to him and ask him, or did he come in? Like, how did you guys meet? How did it all happen?
I already knew Bob, and he came in the factory one day, and the guy that owned it said, "Oh, I need a new shaper." And he said, "Oh, Phil's just shaped this board. What do you reckon?" And Bob went, "He's the man. Give him a go." He said, "I'll take him up home and give him some fundamentals," and he did. I've always got along really well with Bob. I was actually with him about a week ago now. We were reminiscing about a few things. And that, yeah, he lived up above the point. He just taught me how he planed a board down. I just went, "Oh, right, that's it. Okay." So off I went. But he's been very supportive of me over the years, as has George been as well.
Do different shapers, do you all have different methods of, I mean, obviously shaping, but like how to hold the planer and all that kind of stuff, like the basics? Is there different theories on how to do it?
Yeah, there would be. But the way Bob taught me to do it is very tradesman-like. And coming from a carpentry background, it's pretty damn precise in that as well. I used to see Tony Surf. He was a really good Australian shaper. He's retired now, but he used to more or less carve them out like he was carving them, carving stone or something. My approach, and that what Bob taught me, was just more of a tradesman-like sort of process, I think so.
Okay, and that stuck with you? Or have you changed over the years?
Not really, no. I've seen some guys that just can't use a planer properly. I mean, there's so much by hand. I'd go, one sort of real good shaper that I know, he said to me, "How long did it take you to shape that?" And I said, "Oh, an hour and a half." And he went, "It takes me 5 or 6 days." You're going to make a lot of money. I think the faster you shape, the more accurate you can be too. Once
Okay.
you get in that groove, you're not thinking about it. It just all seems to flow. But I do still hand shape some boards, but most I've just got models and that machined and that these days.
Okay.
But physically, I tell you what, like throwing a plane around all day is like having a weight in your hand. So,
Yeah.
you're building up one side of your body and the other side's not doing the same thing. It creates a lot of problems.
Yeah. Physically, I'm sure it's a brutal.
Yeah.
Do you feel like shapers today, before they start running a machine and coming up with designs, should know how to hand shape?
I would think so. Otherwise, they're not creating anything that's individual, are they? I mean, they're just, the machines come now with a basic design on it, and
Yes.
they start working from that. Well, it's not really. You can't. You can call yourself a designer, but you can't call yourself a shaper because you're not actually shaping the board. And I mean, to create your own line of boards and then reproduce them is fine by me. But when you're not doing that, well, some of the subtleties I see in designs and that now, and I think it's a bigger thing to come up with a name that everyone likes than it is to make something new.
I agree. That's funny. In the 80s, 90s, I think even you would go to your local shaper, you would tell him kind of the basic dimensions or what you were thinking, and then you let the guy loose, and he would come back and give you a board that probably worked, most likely worked.
Yeah. When they're looking online, they're going, "Oh, well, Kelly Slater rides this one. That's what I should have." I mean, that's just not, it's probably not what they should have.
Right.
But I do see a lot of those major manufacturers now that are really varying their designs, and they've got one of everything sort of thing, whereas before they were just all high-performance boards. The market has really widened as far as all that goes. It is a difficult thing to stay in. For me, it's difficult because you've got to keep proving yourself, and you've got people, it's not good enough that you've been doing it for nearly 48 years or whatever it is. They keep, I don't know, it's annoying.
Yes, I totally get it. When younger shapers were coming up, maybe somebody underneath you or something, were you willing to share information knowing that one day they may become a competitor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You didn't feel threatened?
No, I mean, I'm a pretty basic sort of person. If I got enough money to get by, I'm happy. I don't care. I'm not worried about making $1 million. I mean, I'm 72 next April. I mean, how many years have I got left? I don't know. It's never been about, I've always tried to make enough money to help my family and that.
Of course.
My wife.
You have
Wife's
to.
got a good job. Yeah, but I'm not like that. I mean, if a guy's there and a young guy's is hand shaping and learning how to do it properly, I'm fully supportive of him. If he's just designing off a computer and big note himself, well, I'm not that interested in it.
Okay. But, yeah. Do you feel like we're losing the hand shaper, that generation, your generation?
Well, there's a few guys around now, younger guys here, that are hand shaping. But I've said to them, mate, get your bloody designs down and don't do what I did. I hand shaped for too long. It ruined my shoulders, my lower back and all that sort of stuff. I said, don't go on and on with it because one day you'll wake up and go, fuck, this is killing me sort of thing. So that repetitive motion can become really bad. I said, just take yourself, get your boards the way you want them and then get them reproduced because you've done it. You've done it. You don't need to do it on and on and on.
Do you think that they can go on and on and on, but maybe cut back to redesign a board and come up with something creative like you were doing back in the day?
The cuts that I get done are just like if I had planed it down.
Yes.
Then I do other things like if I'm going to do a step bottom, I've still got to put that step bottom in the thing. If I do channels, I've still got to put the channels in. I've got to,
yes,
do the edge board sort of thing. I just get a basically profile blank, to save that thing on the shoulders of pushing that planer around.
Yeah.
But as I say, if I'm doing something different, I'll do it by hand.
Okay. Channels. So you're known for your channels.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much does that change a surfboard?
To me, I could never ride a board after we started making those channel bottom boards back in the. I could never ride a board without them. Really.
Wow.
I mean, I have. It was like putting a motor in a board, and I mean, I'd shaped a few for Nick Carroll over the last few years. He said to me, I don't remember single fins going this quickly. And I said, oh, well, I do. But he's written a couple of things about them, and it's kind of like makes the board friction free because it just picks up, you get all these knockers and things saying, oh, they track like a train, all this sort of stuff. Well, that's rubbish. It's the exact opposite. The water flowing down through the channels creates air and bubbles, so it gives you lift. It's kind of like friction-free sort of thing. My channels aren't square. They're kind of like a set of waves coming in about to break, like on the bottom of your board. It's the proof's in the pudding and the furling sort of thing. And I mean, so if you look at some of the old photos that are on my Instagram of people surfing those boards and that, you can see that they're loose and flighty.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't persevere doing that for so long if it didn't work. A lot of the criticism came from the industry because they didn't want to make them.
Time consuming, right?
It is. All we made for years was just channel bottom boards and stuff. I mean, it is time consuming, but people get paid for it. I mean,
yeah.
One guy said to me, I don't want to do them. And I said, what do you get for a normal board? And he said, oh, $25. And I said, how many of them can you do in an hour? And he went, oh, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, how long does it take you to do one of mine? He said, oh, 3/4 of an hour. And I said, yeah, but you get $25 more. They don't like using their hands. I mean, they don't, if they can't use a machine, it all becomes a bit hard sort of thing. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. You just got to deal with it and find your places that'll do them. But, yeah, we were quite happy doing them back in the day, and there's no problem. The old factories we had no air conditioning, no nothing, but everything still got done. Made our own fins, the whole lot.
In today's world, with how good surfers are, the guys that can surf out there and maybe have never tried a channel bottom board, do you feel like they need to have one or give it a go?
I remember sitting down watching the pro circuit once. It was at Jeffreys Bay, and they were all riding tiny little boards, and it's like 6 foot, and it's reeling off down the line at 1,000,000 miles an hour. They'd come off the bottom, do that top turn, do the slide, and by the time they straightened up, the wave was 100 yards down there.
Mm.
And I just thought to myself, watching that, and my son said, Dad, they're not making any waves. And I said, yeah, well, if they had a slightly bigger board and probably a channel bottom, they might be able to keep up sort of thing. But the thing is, too, with that upper echelons of surfing, meet the odd guy riding over the years riding channel bottoms. Does a manufacturer want to create we did, and we sold lots of boards with Cole Smith, but there's not many manufacturers that want to have that rod in their back. They don't want to, have their surfer riding those boards because then they're going to have to reproduce them all. And it becomes a production problem sort of things. But that's what we did back in the day anyway, and we were doing, like 20 channel bottoms a week.
Okay. How many are you selling today? Majority?
Channel bottoms?
Yeah.
A lot, but I do long boards, in-length things, whatever, bloody short stubbies, whatever. Yeah, but still do a lot of channel bottoms and still do a lot of the Cole Smith channel bottoms, the single fin ones, which I thought I'd never ever do, but I do. Yeah. Well, I just thought once they were gone, the single fin area was gone, but now everything's come back. And I mean, it's quite a lively board, that board. I mean, it's people get a shock when they actually ride them. So.
Throughout the world, are you distributing your boards out of Australia?
Not really. I mean, we tried to do one lot there when COVID and that was on. They were going to go to a guy in Virginia Beach. But, anyway, they went around the world, these boards, ended up in Alaska at one stage. I mean, and when the time they got to bloody
Virginia,
the Virginia Beach, they were like they had been attacked by a fucking bear or something in Alaska because all the packaging was ripped off and the things were smashed to pieces.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That kind of fell in a heap after that. He wanted me to come over there and shape.
That's what my next question was.
COVID came and we decided to try that, and then that's what happened. But, I mean, I'd like to go there, but I don't know anyone who would want to take that on. to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the 6 channels are fine. I mean, it's when we get up to those 10 channels and stuff, but I mean, there's an art in it. It's not that hard. I was never a glasser, but I did one summer and I glassed end shape. It's quite doable. It's just the process of people have got to get over the initial fear of, well, how do I go about this? But obviously it can be done.
Yeah.
Like at one stage, I had a girl doing it. She was a girl glasser up the coast, but she injured her arm and she had to retire. But obviously it can be done. And I'm doing carbon ones now, which are vacuum bags, and they're coming out really, really nice.
Wow. You answered the question. I was going to ask you the possibility that you and your brand Free Flight would come to America and do a batch.
Well, I mean, I'm not very financial. I never have been because, I mean, that's just the way it is.
You're a surfer.
Yeah. I'm an old one now. Yeah, I would like to go to America. No doubt I'd like to have something to start. Christian Beamish did come here and I showed him what to do, but nothing ever happened from that.
Okay. I mean, how many people are doing channels? I don't see them ever in any shop around here in Southern California. I've looked.
No, there wouldn't be a lot.
Yeah.
Hamish Graham does some over there. But, yeah, there wouldn't be a lot. And, I mean, there wouldn't be a lot doing like I do them here, that's for sure. I don't think there'd be any.
Yeah. Is it going to be a lost design?
Quite possibly.
Yeah. What a shame.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of history behind that 10 channel. I mean, to still get orders for them after all that time, like I was texting Mark Richards there a couple of weeks ago, and I said, would you ever think that we'd be doing, the same boards they're doing back then, now?
Yeah.
And like his twin fin's still really popular, and the Cole Smith channel's really popular.
Yeah.
Both come out of Newcastle, sort of thing. So, I mean, yeah, I can't see anyone. I mean, I have seen people do multiple channels.
Yeah.
But not as many as what I've done, obviously.
Was there a period of time where it was bigger than it is today? I'm going to guess the like 80s, late 80s.
Early 80s was big for us.
Early 80s?
Yeah. And then we went right through that, doing channel bottoms, yeah. But the Cole Smith channel, we started doing it in 1980, 81 and 82.
Mm-hmm.
When this contest coming up on the weekend.
Yeah.
They're one of the most sought-after boards to ride in that.
Nice.
Yeah. Brad Gerlach's got an old one which he loves and he keeps for those contests. He actually won his division there last year.
Okay.
Well, when I'm gone, I don't know who's going to do like a 10-channel single thing. We won't do it.
Do you have someone to hand the torch off to?
No.
Bummer. Bummer.
No.
Not that you're good for a while, I can tell, but I'm just saying, I'd hate to see, everyone's so close. If you look at Channel Islands, you look at Lost, they're different boards, but they're really the same board, in my opinion. They're so similar.
Yeah. The differences between a lot of those boards is just tweaked on the computer. I mean,
right.
A touch more this, a touch more that sort of thing. And I mean, it's probably a tedious bloody thing to do to create the right board for some of those pros.
Yes.
But yeah, what I do is just a total different road.
You're looking for the everyday guy that surfs good.
Yeah.
And you're making him happy.
Yeah. And I mean, I do modern boards, modern channel bottoms, whatever, edge boards, all sorts of things. And that's the way I like it. I mean, I get bored just doing the same thing over and over again. It becomes very, very tedious.
Yes. Are you still surfing?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And then you switching your boards up a lot to keep it fresh?
I still probably got like a half a dozen boards that I would have at one time, sort of thing, yeah.
Okay.
I think I need to go a bit longer. Some days I can ride the shorter ones and some days I can't. I mean, it's just depend on how I feel, how physically I feel, sort of thing. So this last year I just had sciatica and I had I got COVID for the first friggin' time.
Oh,
then I had to go bloody that skin cancer treatment on my face. Then I went to Indonesia and did some shaping. Then I came home with the worst virus that I've ever had in my life. And that kind of flattened me. I'm just kind of trying to get my strength back at the moment.
If there's one thing you could say to a consumer of surfboards, what would that be?
Stay off the internet. A famous Australian shaper here knows everything and always tells everybody all the advice. I to him the other day, and he's going, "Oh, if a board's got a step in it or something, stay away from it,"
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, yeah, right. Well, you're missing out on half the fun. I mean, the fun in surfing to me is all the different feelings of different boards.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and it's not as if they don't go well, they do. I mean, it's scared to step away from just what everyone else is riding, or you're going to miss out on a lot of things.
Hell yeah. I agree.
As far as I'm concerned. Yeah, things have changed. Everything's changed.
Yes. Have you ever thought about getting in front of the camera and telling the world the benefits of having your channels and your boards?
Well, I've kind of done that on Instagram and stuff like that. I mean, I've had
Yes,
so many
that's true.
discussions or arguments with people or whatever you want to put it.
Yeah.
That really don't know, that have never ridden one, of making all these assumptions. And the assumptions, I'm sorry, are incorrect.
Yeah.
And you've only got to look, if you look on my Instagram page and look at some of those old photos of Cole, I mean, there's one of him coming off the top at bloody Ulu where the fin's just about in the water. I mean, the boards were flighty. They were they were not like people think they are. And I mean, that's just a major misconception with the whole thing. Other people do them in a different way. And I mean, I did an experiment years and years ago. I put square channels in a board and I even resin edged the channel so that it was super sharp and it was square. Thing felt like a piece of shit. So I went back to doing them how I do them. People go, they're too long, they're too deep, they're too long. Well, no, they're not. You can't deny the fact of, and I know there's a movie circulating with some footage of Cole and that in it now too. People just don't realise that they're not how they look. They surf differently.
Okay. Who is your everyday customer today?
Varies.
Really? Okay.
Dramatically. I mean, because I do such a wide range, it can be a 70-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, and they all want varying things, sort of thing. So,
well, the good thing about that, which I think is great coming to a guy like you that has so much experience, is that you've been all those ages, so you understand that surfer.
Yes.
You've lived that part.
Yeah, exactly. I did some boards for another famous Australian surfer, and he's a shaper as well, and for his shop, and he's going, "Oh, this is my older guy's board," and it just was a normal board with a bit of a round nose on it. And I just said, "Mate, that's not going to suit an older guy." And I mean, all this computer thing with litres and that too, you can say 35 litres suits this guy that's 20 and supposedly suits this guy that's 70. No way in the world. I mean, litres means nothing. I mean, it's just it might, if you're in your prime of your age, like you're a young, fit surfer.
Yes.
Yes, it might then. But once you get out of that bracket, it means nothing. It really does. And when you live through the stages of surfing, from fit to getting older, you'll soon realise you got to live through it. It takes,
You talked about Mark Richards, so he's a shaper also, right? Do you ever jump at other shapers' boards and try their equipment?
I have over the years, and I remember riding one of Mark's twin fins. We had a thing around here called Lennox Masters, and then in that they had a section of retro boards.
Yes.
And I remember riding an old Mark Richards twin fin, and I'm going, this bloody thing's unreal,
Uh-huh.
It was just as valid as it was back in its day.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I have over the years. Mostly I've sort of settled on what I've always liked, and a lot of other shapers don't do that anyway, so I think so.
Is it important to ride your own equipment, what you're shaping?
Oh, I think so, yeah, definitely. But, I mean, there comes a time when you're going to get too old to do that.
That's true. Do you think that some of these guys, they start to get in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even though their job is to shape boards or work in the surf industry, but stop surfing, do you think it's important that they keep surfing?
You've got to surf as long as you can, I think. And,
I love that, yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that were a lot younger that didn't really surf that much and become shapers as well. I spend a lot of time going out bushing that these days, have other hobbies and stuff like that. So, I still on the beach, still go surfing, but as I say at last. But I've got other things I want to do, I like doing in that as well.
Yes.
Like, some people are just totally focused on living on the coast and doing, everything's just revolved around that. Well, there's a lot of other things in the world and that too that are worth having a look at and doing sort of things. So I like going out in the bush because I like the tranquility, the isolation, the peace and quiet. And it's kind of like when we first started surfing, you're in an isolated place and
Yeah.
it's just good for peace of mind.
Over these years, and I'm sure there's been some ups and downs, especially in the surf industry, have you ever thought about walking away and doing something else, or was it never even thought of that this is your love and this is what you're
I
sticking
actually did that probably about 12 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago.
with? Mm-hmm.
I just went, I've had enough of this. This is a joke. And
Okay.
I became a bloody cleaner. Just went, I did just a dumb job. And I just went, well, I'm here isolated, but I'm by myself. I just go on early in the morning, do this, come home, have the rest of the day off, then go back in the afternoon and do another bloody shift of it. And
Yeah.
I was doing stuff like that. But that soon made me realise after about 5 years, but I was doing some shaping some boards in between shifts doing that.
Yeah.
Soon made me realise, like, hang on, it's not as bad as what
So you needed that.
I think I needed something different
Mm-hmm.
to make me appreciate what I had, sort of thing. But I'm at the age now where, I don't want to do too many. I mean, I can't do too many.
Yeah.
I can still do, if I have to, I'll just do 20 quickly or whatever.
Okay.
Especially with the aid of the machine, I can knock them out. But I want just enough to get by on, but I want to do other things. I've just got a new van. I've put a bed in it and all the rest of it, and I want to use that, and I want to go down the coast and out west and stuff like that as well.
I'm going to do something new. Advice with Phil. You've lived so many generations of surfing and seen it all. Do you have any advice to surfers dealing with shapers? How would you talk to your shaper?
Well, I don't know if a lot of them have access to actually
That's
to
true.
shapers. Like these days, everything, you walk into a shop, they're going to tell you anything.
The sell board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the main thing is just be honest with yourself.
Mm.
Don't overrate yourself. I mean, tell it as it is. You won't improve unless you go through a process.
Right.
You start off a board that floats you well,
Yeah.
that's stable, all the rest, to learn the basics on that board, and then you can gradually improve. Try to do it in leaps and bounds,
Yeah.
especially in that learning era. You'll end up with a horrible style usually and becoming very frustrated. So you've got to be honest with yourself. You'll have more fun if you're honest with yourself.
Okay. I like that.
That's what I like to say.
All right. What about advice for aging surfers? How to stay in the water?
That's a hard one because a lot of them haven't.
Okay. Well, or they want to reapproach surfing, maybe.
Don't drink too much alcohol.
Okay.
Just try and stay reasonably fit. I mean, that's a major part of it as well. And again, don't try and hang on to your 6'2" thruster too long. Foam is your friend, especially as you get older.
Yes.
One old mate, he said, I'm dragging out my old board, and he said, I'm going up the pass, I'm going to start surfing again. Well, he goes up there, and the thing hardly faked, ended up having a heart attack. The whole thing is be honest with yourself on what your needs are, and you'll have a lot more fun.
Okay. Do you feel like a surfer that hasn't surfed in a while, that maybe took 5-10 years off, should start with a bigger board? And
Yes. I mean, getting the back to bend again properly, your head, holding your head up, all that sort of stuff, using your shoulders, everything again after 5 years can be pretty hard on the body.
You feel like you should, like you said before, surf as long as you can.
Like my brother gave up quite a few years ago. He
Mhm.
just said, no, I've had enough. He said, it's too crowded and I'm not getting the same thrill about it. It just depends on how you feel about it. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
if someone said to me, you're never going to be able to surf again today, well, I wouldn't fall in a heap.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go, well, yeah, I've had the best years of my life. I've had, fantastic surf. I've had uncrowded surf. I've got a lot to be grateful for. I see so many, one shaper in particular, and I won't mention his name, but ended up so ranking at about the whole thing. And I remember saying to him, and was quite a famous surfer, a famous shaper. I remember saying to him, but mate, we've had such a good lives. I mean, we've had everything. we've had all the stuff that kids only dream about today,
Yeah.
but it's all shit. It's all this. And I mean, well, maybe it is, but you can't let yourself get like that. I mean, it's just, we have a lot to be grateful for, a real lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. What about the guy that has to deal with, remembering how well he did surf when he was 20 years old and now he's 60? It's hard to let that go. You want to still be 20 again.
Of course. Of course. You just be glad that you were good. But you could do it. Nothing can replace all those good surfs. And, I mean, it's just a fact of life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, there was like a guy here years ago, a famous football player, and he went on and on and on to his old age. And I remember his last game, he came out and he had a pair of white boots on and everything.
Yeah.
And he went to kick off and the ball just flew sideways off his new white boots and it went over the sideline and he had like a shocking game.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just went on too long. And I mean, you just got to, like, Slater was the exception in surfing that was able to do that, and there's not too many people that can do it. I mean, Occy did it for quite a
he
while
came back.
too.
Yeah.
And they still, I mean, all those guys still surf really, really, really well. But
yeah,
to maintain that fitness level, I mean, is an impossibility because your body ages, and that's all there is to it. But that's the important thing is to have, as an older person, is to have other interests. I joined a lapidary club and I go gem pots again and I fly fish and stuff like that.
Nice.
And, go and find gemstones and facet them and all the rest of it. And then I like going out west fishing in the dams and the creeks and stuff like that as well. Really enjoy the isolation of that sort of thing. It kind of reminds me of the early days of surfing. So it's just finding peace of mind, which is very hard in this world. I mean, getting hard enough here with the amount of people, but living in ultra crowded areas and stuff, I think I'd go around the bend, to tell you the truth.
Okay. What about any new or up and coming shapers? You have any advice for them that actually want a hand shape, not run on a computer?
Like I said before, this young guy here, Luke Condon, and I mean, I said to him the other day, I said, mate, just get your shapes down and then switch over to the machine. You can always just keep experimenting, hand shaping your different sort of boards and that, but once you've refined that, because as I said, the physical toll that takes on your body, you mightn't feel it now, but you will feel it later on. And it becomes restrictive to your way of life and your surfing and everything.
Who's your favorite surfer today? Do you have one?
Not really.
Do you watch pro surfing?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Look, it's good when it's in good waves, but when it's in shitty waves sort of thing, I mean, it's just
boring.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agree.
Once upon a time, when pro surfing first started, a lot of those guys shaped their own boards. They were also individual. You could tell, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. I remember being on the beach down here one day and that Jeremy Forrest's father was over here with a whole heap of French kids. Mm-hmm. They were sitting behind a table and I sort of stood there and talked to him and I was watching all these kids that go out and it was like they were coming out of a factory. When they hit the lip, they all threw their hands in the same position. When they did this, their hands went out and that's what they were drumming to do, these hand movements, everything. On each individual, every manoeuvre they did, they had a different hand movement for it, sort of thing. I said, it looks like they're just coming out of a cornflakes packet. They're just like out of a factory. Like everything's the same. I think the real talented ones are the ones that have their own sort of flair, like Tom Curran and Slater, obviously, and weren't as manufacturers as a lot of them are these days.
These guys you're talking about have been surfing for 40, 50, 60 years. Tom Curran, like, he's not old news, of course. But everyone still uses him as a reference. Yeah.
Like whether he's riding a thruster, the bottom turns he does on thruster are reminiscent of single fin sort of thing. Like he's just got a beautiful style. And I think
100%.
Style is very, very important. Very important.
You being a shaper, and I know these are your competitors, but do you have a favorite shaper? Do you think someone's really, besides yourself, of course, is there any other shapers out there that you like ultra respect, or they're doing something right, or they all kind of just doing the same thing?
A lot of guys doing a lot of different things. I just see a lot of those modern retro boards don't have the correct bottom on them. And I think V is not being used to its full potential. Like you see a lot of these new twin fins and stuff, and they're flat across the bottom. And I haven't got no V or no little roll in the bottom or whatever. I think they're missing, and a lot of the old school Mals don't have enough roll in them. Admittedly, the roll bottom ones are the hardest ones to surf. But if you can surf them, you can surf, you'd surf a lot better than the ones that are just sort of roll straight across the bottom and then just have the 50-50 rails. I mean, there's kind of a lot of cheating going on. Yeah, and I see, like the modern twin fin that they've got now, I mean, draws lines, but don't see it going vertical level that well, and that's because of bottom shapes and stuff. I mean, I still think probably Mark Richards hit the nail on the head with the twin fin, the performance levels he's got out of his as compared to a lot of things are happening these days. Yeah, is there any real advancement? Have boards? I suppose there is in that high performance level, but that's for the chosen few.
Yeah.
Bottom shape is important, and getting the things on their rails is the secret to it all.
Fins. Do you feel like switching fins out in different conditions is it a good idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I never used to think that, but I do now. I remember having a twin fin and I put those bloody curls on it, last in. It felt like an absolute piece of shit. I sanded them out and put normal, like MR fins on it, and it went great. And I've got a lot of those Henelite fins at the moment, and I have fins off George and that as well, that like his power blades and stuff that make an incredible amount of difference.
Single fins. Should everyone have a single fin in their quiver, like a short boarder?
I personally think when they're training guys, they should make them ride single fins because it makes you stay in the pocket of the wave. It makes you find the power source. If you don't find the power source, it's not really going to go that well, but it makes you surf in the correct part of the wave. It also gives you a much cleaner style. Yeah, and I mean, as I said, some of the things I've seen these kids doing in that contest in Bali and that one up the Gold Coast on these single fins, I mean, they're doing all the modern manoeuvres that can be done. They can do the airs, they can do the whole lot. I think so. But, yeah, it just makes you take cleaner lines and be more on the correct part of the wave.
So, Phil Myers, thank you so much for coming on the QuiverCast, man. This is a great conversation. I had so much fun. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure, Mike.
All right, everybody. This is Mike and Phil Myers from Free Flight. And if you're in Australia, definitely go hit him up, talk to him, get one of his boards because his boards look sick.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. Ride this wave to the shore, paddle out, I'm gonna catch 10 more. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. I don't care if it's wrong or right, I'm gonna do it all day, I'm gonna do it all night. I'm going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with friends. On my way, it's a beautiful day. I'm going surfing, I'm going surfing, going surfing.